The Brooklyn Nets are one of the most hyped teams for the upcoming NBA season. With the return of Kevin Durant, one of the best offensive players we've ever seen, the expectations for this team are incredibly high. But how far can they really make it? Let's talk about that. Throughout the 2010s, the Nets were really a joke of a franchise. After wasting a huge amount of picks to get Garnett and Pierce, their future was uncertain. And even with the young star Brook Lopez on the team, most NBA fans knew the situation for the Nets was not a good one. But recently, after obtaining D'Angelo Russell in a trade, his emergence as a legitimate star got the Nets in the playoffs, along with their underrated, cultivated talent. They finally started to become an exciting team and drew fans in. They'd finally built up plenty of cap space for the highly anticipated 2019 free agency, and although they lost D'Lo, they were able to sign the duo of Kyrie and KD, who most people thought were going to the Knicks. That's the power of mainstream media. Unfortunately, due to his injury in the finals, KD would be out the whole year, and Kyrie would only play 20 games and opt out entirely for the bubble. Despite that, they were able to get the 7th seed in the East due to amazing seasons from Dinwiddie and LeVert. Now, going into the 2021 season, they have for the most part the same team as last season, as well as Durant and Kyrie both being healthy. There's been a lot of speculation on who the third star will be, and what most people think is Bradley Beal. The team has plenty of trade assets to obtain another star, but I'm not sure how effective the third star idea really is. Jumping the gun on getting a star has been a trend recently, and oftentimes hasn't worked. The Clippers sold their future to OKC for Paul George just for him to have a down year and choke in the playoffs. The Nets aren't necessarily a young team like Denver, so they don't need to be too worried about keeping assets, but recent years have proven over and over again that talent does not create success. The Clippers and Sixers last year were perfect examples. I think Beal's offensive talents would mesh well with KD and Kyrie, but when you sacrifice depth for another superstar who is bad defensively, there are problems. Already the idea of multiple high-volume offensive players create tension, but the bigger problem would be defense. Durant is a solid defender, but will only be getting worse than he has been defensively, due to age and injury, and we all know the kind of defenders Beal and Irving are. I think the best interest for the team would be to take the safe route and not pursue a third star. It's always dangerous to pursue that third star, and I think when they have Kyrie and KD, that'll be enough for them to be one of the best teams in the East, and a third star wouldn't actually change much. Kevin Durant hasn't played NBA basketball since June of 2019 due to an Achilles tear, but I still think he'll be the Kevin Durant we know and love, after he gets his initial rust off. Kevin Durant is not a player who relies heavily on athleticism, and most of his game is about skill and finesse, which an Achilles tear would not impair. Even if he isn't at the same level as before the injury, he will still be a superstar with the offensive skills to be a top 10 player. At his best in 2014, KD was arguably the best player in the world. He averaged 32 points on nearly 50-40-90 shooting splits, with the second best player on the team missing the majority of the season. Since then, he hasn't averaged less than 25 points per game. I expect him to continue that. If he doesn't average 25 a game, he'll average a minimum of 23 or 24. But considering he won't have Steph Curry and Klay Thompson to share the load with, I don't see that happening. I see him averaging 25 points, 7 rebounds, and 5 assists on 50, 38, 85 shooting splits. Even this is relatively conservative, but I'm not a strong believer in revenge seasons because they very rarely happen in actuality. Either way, whether Durant is motivated to another level or just being KD, he'll have an all-NBA caliber season and will be one of the best players in the league once he gets his rust off. Kyrie Irving has been one of the most controversial players in the world recently. After Boston, he showed us that he's better as a second option, and now, with KD, he'll be exactly that. I don't see the shoulder surgery actually impairing him in any way, and I think he'll be off to a good start next year. There may be a little rust just because he didn't play in the bubble, and it will have been a while since he played any games, but I don't see that affecting him much. Being the second option, and hopefully playing a lot of games, he wouldn't average as many points per game as he did last season, but I see him putting up about 24 points and 6 assists a game, on typical Kyrie efficiency. Kyrie is one of the best ball handlers we've ever seen and an incredible shot creator. The combination of his shot creating with KD's could make this duo scary for the rest of the league. With Kyrie playing consistently, Spencer Dinwiddie will not have the same impact as he did last season when he averaged 20 points and 7 assists, but he will still be an important piece to their team. He could play as shooting guard for the team, but I see him as more of a sixth man. I think the shooting guard spot would go either to Caris LeVert or Joe Harris. Both can play the 2 guard, with KD at the 3, but I think one of them has to go. They both bring something different to the game, and I think whoever they want to keep is up to the Nets management, and no choice would be wrong. They could either let Joe Harris walk in free agency, or keep him and trade LeVert for a solid power forward. Durant could play power forward, but I see him mixing his minutes at the 3 and the 4, so having a good backup forward would be nice. Both LeVert and Harris could play the 2 or 3, so position-wise who the team decides to keep doesn't matter. I could see them signing a Paul Millsap type player for the power forward now that he isn't necessary for the Nuggets and wouldn't be a huge financial commitment. I think a starting 5 of Kyrie, LeVert, KD, Paul Millsap, and Jarrett Allen, who's a great young rim protector, with Spencer Dinwiddie off the bench, could easily be one of the best teams in the East, winning 50 games and even possibly contending for a championship. How good do you think the Nets will be next season? Let me know in the comments. As always, if you like this video, leave a like. If you like this kind of content, make sure to subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.